It's Geekazine's special coverage of TechCrunch Disrupt 2012.
Paul Graham, the co-founder of Y Combinator, sent out a memo internally to people in his class criticizing a bit Google Ventures, saying, be careful, what they're doing right now is they're lowballing on valuations. If you are raising around an X amount, they're going to say, well, we'll give your valuation half that. What was the reaction like? I mean, Bill Maris has already spoken out about it, but what do you have to say sort of about that characterization? What's this been like inside of Google Ventures? What have you guys been talking about?
Well, I think that, we're absolutely not going out there and just trying to lowball these companies. I mean, for us, it's you take a look at the whole class of YC. And I think that typically you see anywhere between, an $8 to $12 million cap on the notes that they've been raising. And so there's a range there, but I think, some of those companies are probably worth $15 or $20 million, and others are probably worth 6 or 4. You can't just automatically say that every company that graduates from Y Combinator is a $10 million company. I mean, so for me, I think that, I'm guilty of this as well. I don't know if it's something to be guilty of. It's, you meet an entrepreneur, you assess how much risk is in the business, and then you decide on how much you want to offer them, like what type of cap. And, I think I'm closing 3 YC deals right now. There was a total of 4. 3 of them, we just took the term straight up. It sounded great. I agreed, yes, this is a $10 million cap, sounds great. And then there was one that we couldn't come to terms. I looked at it, I said, there's too much risk in this business for me. I don't see it as being, an $8 million company, so I just can't do the deal.
So at least from your perspective, it's not accurate. You weren't having.
No one is going out to try and have valuations. I mean, we have a $200 million fund every year out of Google Ventures. It really doesn't matter when you're doing a small little 100K investment. We're not trying to can we save a little extra money or get a little extra valuation here? That's not, for us, for me personally, when I see a company, it's really just trying to figure out what is the value of this company. And they're all different.
I talked to a couple founders who have gotten investments from Google Ventures just to ask them, about this valuation thing. And both of them said no, the valuation wasn't an issue, but the due diligence process was longer with Google Ventures than it has been with other firms. Is that something that you've heard, that the due diligence and the lawyers and the paperwork, that you guys are more strict about that?
Yeah, I don't know that we're stricter about it. I think that in coming into Google Ventures, I had taken funding when I had Mill, my last startup, from Google Ventures, and we took $200K, I believe, from GV. And the process was definitely a little bit longer than I was used to. And so one of the first things when I joined up is I said, hey, for seed style deals, like something that is 250K or less, we need to get this process a little bit more fine-tuned. And so, that's what I've been working on personally since I've joined, and I think we've come a long way. If we talk to the YC companies that we're funding now, it's pretty much the same amount of due diligence that all these other investors are doing in these companies. And I think that if you take a look at Google Ventures, we do deals that are $5 to $10 million deals, which absolutely require a deep amount of due diligence. It just makes sense when you're investing that much capital, right? And so it's just figuring out how to pare that down when you're doing something that's a 100K deal or 150 or 200K deal. And we're getting there. And we've worked closely with a bunch of other firms, Gunderson and others, that have helped us with this, and I think that we're in a great place now.
So you personally have made
that absolutely. I really want to see this process streamlined. And we've made a lot of steps to make it just a very easy, painless process now for startups.
Have you personally heard from Paul Graham in the past few days?
I haven't. No, I haven't heard anything from him. No, I have nothing bad to say about Y Combinator. I think what they're doing is great. They've obviously producing great companies. I'm investing in several of them. I think that it's just anytime information gets spread through 2 or 3 or 4 different people and it finally gets back to Paul, sometimes the message can get confused. And obviously this was an internal email that was meant to stay internal, and it just got leaked. And it's nobody's mad at anyone. I think it was just one of those things.
And so you mentioned the investments that you've made. I think just one you've really been public about, though, Rally. right? Startup Rally. Is there anything else that you made that you can tell us
So
about?
Bufferbox is one that we just closed on out of this current YC class, which I was a big fan of. Bufferbox is essentially setting up kiosks in different locations for people to receive packages at. And they have some really interesting stats, like 40 to 60% of packages fail on their first attempt. So, you have companies like Amazon, everyone's been plagued with this. You get home and you see a little sticker on your door saying you missed your package, and it really sucks. So basically, they're putting these different kiosks inside of Walmarts and other locations that you can essentially, when you're checking out, you just choose to have it shipped to your Bufferbox. And then at your leisure, you just walk into a Walmart or wherever and you go back and you put in your little code, the door pops open and you take your package. So it's really nice.
It's an ambitious idea. It seems like you like ambitious ideas, when you talk to different companies. Is there a certain style or something that you think you've become known for, or a niche that you really like to play in when you think about investment?
It's funny. I think that you hear of these investors having all these different strategies, and I think that for me personally, I'd be lying if I would say that I have this like grand vision for something much larger. I think that when I see a deal and I hear about a company that is doing something that's really disruptive, that immediately grabs my attention. I don't want to do the Pinterest for cats or something that's just a modification of an existing idea. So, I really like, I'm very surgical about the investments that I do. I don't tend to do a lot of deals. I'm not like an index type of investor that'll do 50 or 75 deals a year. I want to be known long term for actually adding a lot of value to these companies, and I think that the only way to really do that is to pare down the total number of deals that you're doing so you actually can spend time with these entrepreneurs to help them out. And so, I'm probably one of those investors that'll do 10, 12 deals a year, but there are going to be companies that I really believe in. And if you take a look at the portfolio that I've had over the last few years, it hasn't been that many companies. It's just the ones that I'm really super passionate about.
What's been your best investment personally, or obviously not a bunch yet?
Well, there's a handful that, like, from the Fabs and the Twitters and others that have not yet seen exits. I think that I was there at the very beginning of Ingimoco, which sold for $200 million, and then there's I'm in Like With You, the OMG Pop guys. I was a very early angel, and that was a very long. And that was my first investment, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was I'm in Like With You, and which later turned into OMG Pop, and then Zynga bought them for I think $250 million or something like that. But that was the first deal I ever did.
Wow, that was a nice one.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. Like I love the team, and it was kind of one of those things where I just really fell in love with kind of the next generation kind of UI and UX that they were doing back in the day. And then they kind of went through this period of they had a handful of semi-popular games, and they of course had that really big breakout game recently, and that's when Zynga scooped them up.
I want to ask about just in general your sort of relationship with the press. You're kind of a unique person that your career has kind of been very public. It started out as a host on television, and so kind of on this side of the fence, but then as a founder, famously that business we cover, How This Kid made $60 million in 18 months. How old were you when that covered?
I don't know. Like 25 or something like that.
What kind of a kid?
35 now, yeah.
Right. But that was good and bad, and then you've gotten a lot of criticism. There was a Business Insider article recently, kind of about your career. How do you think about the press? How has your relationship with us reporters? Where do you kind of?
It all comes and goes in cycles. I think that when I was doing the Digg thing, the press realized very early on that if they would write a positive article about Digg, their article would be on the homepage of Digg, in which case it would drive them a lot of traffic, which was awesome. And then they realized if they write a negative article about Digg, it'll be on the homepage of Digg, which drives them a lot of traffic. So that happened over and over again. And so it's just something where you have to develop a kind of a thick skin around this stuff and just go with it, especially when you're putting yourself out there as much as I have in the last few years. But I'm friends with the press. I don't know.
Was there ever an article, what's the article that's happened that's made you sort of the most mad, or that you really felt was incorrect or was portraying you in a bad way?
The recent one from Business Insider where it mentioned the fact that I I don't have focus on my companies, I think was a little unfair. I mean, I never interviewed with that writer. Like they said they tried to reach out to me, but I never received it. And then it talked about the fact that how I really wasn't involved in Digg, and I think that there's, Digg, it's going on 9 years old at this point. So I think that the first 6 or so years, it was my baby, and like I was totally involved there first thing in the morning, and it was like I would stay up late at night, and it was something I was obviously really passionate about. And then, as every company goes through their ups and downs, like I think that later on, towards the tail end, when I stepped out and then stepped back in, it was like at that point in time I kind of emotionally moved on, and so I was in and out of the company there, and that made sense, but it wasn't really a very well balanced article. And they talked about how I never really had a successful startup, and I think that from an exit point of view, Digg wasn't really a successful exit. Revision 3 made our investors a lot of money.
Yeah, I just sold
to Discovery recently, which is a company that I co-founded. So it's like, it didn't even mention that in the article. So it's stuff like that where you feel that, you wish you would have had a chance to talk to the person writing the article, but that's okay. That's just how it goes.
I also want to ask, because you do this great series, I'm not sure if you all have seen it, it's on YouTube, it's the Foundation video series. You go and you interview people. You get a lot of pretty cool people to interview. Most recently was Elon Musk, O'Malley recently.
Elon Musk was awesome. He's such a nerd in all the right ways.
Yeah, who's your favorite person to kind of shoot the shit with in the industry? I mean, maybe not just one person, but who out there has a really good mind that you like to talk to?
I think that probably my favorite foundation so far that we've shot has been Jack Dorsey. I like how he thinks about things. When he started he talked about how he started Twitter and how he thought about information moving around his city, and I think that holistically he just steps back from the problem and just has this big vision and can see things moving in ways that other people can't. And I like that. Philip Rosedale also is someone to follow. He was created Second Life, and now he's doing a startup called Coffee and Power, and he's just so brilliant. You just know he's going to do something huge. And like this coffee shop that he created here in San Francisco, if anyone's visiting, they should go check it out. It's called Coffee and Power, and like you literally walk in and you kind of log in. It shows your name up on a board, and it says what you're known for. So you log in and it says I'm an application developer. I'm good at Python, blah blah blah. And like you sit down and you see all the other people and their faces and their status, and you can just walk up to someone and say, "Oh, you're a designer. I'm looking to code this." And you share time. It has this weird kind of back-end credit system, like this other currency exchange to power the whole thing. And like this can only come out of Philip's brain. Like he's just such a smart dude.
It's funny, it's like opposite of Second Life, but then almost so opposite that it kind of comes around together. Because Second Life is completely virtual.
Absolutely.
And Coffee Power is physically getting together and meeting and talking.
Yeah, and hearing his stories about how when he was the CEO there, he had people take a poll about how well he was doing. It was an anonymous poll of CEO, and he always said if he drops below like 50%, he'll quit. And so like it was really up to the masses of this company to determine whether or not he kept his job. And it was just like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was some pretty cool stuff. So
wow.
That's been a lot of fun to shoot those videos.
In your career, over the past 15 years, what's the best piece of advice that you've received? Is there one kind of thing that really changed the way that you approached life?
I think that Jack Dorsey, actually, in my first foundation video, said it best. He was like, edit your team, and that means that you're just gonna make bad hires. When you're a startup and you're going out there and you're bringing in people and you're growing so fast, and you have to just trust your gut and make sure to constantly be editing and pruning your team and making sure that if someone is there that is just going against the grain and that you've tried to have a discussion with and they're causing more disruption than anything, it's better for them and for you as a business to just part ways. And so I really thought that was a sound piece of advice. Other than that, something that I try to pass down to the companies that we're talking about funding, it's like figuring out when and where and how to structure a company as you grow. So how many board members to have, you know, I've seen some companies that have a big board at the seed level, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is going to be out of control soon. And so I've seen other companies where they've come to me and they said, we're making a lot of money, but we're looking to raise some cash right now. And I've honestly said to them, like, why are you raising money? You don't need to raise money right now. Like, don't give away a piece of your company. Like hold on to that. You want to keep control for as long as possible. And you know, that's one of those things that I may lose them as an investment right then and there, but I know later on when they come back and they said that was solid advice, they'll look to me to fund their entire round. So it's okay to be honest and tell these people to do the right thing for their business, not try and just, you know, take their company away from them.